Okay, so here I'm going to do a video of pretty much the same thing as the printed out and PDF instructions of the constraints assignment. So you're going to start with opening Fusion, obviously. That's why it's open here. Before we actually start on everything, we're going to open up our little data panel over here. And hopefully it doesn't go really slow. Hit the home button right here. So don't just do it on my recent home button. Get you to projects. Now I've got a bunch of different projects in here. We're going to create a new one. So create a new project that is Fusion Practice. Okay. Let it finish making it. Wait for this little thing to finish here. Okay, now you got Fusion Practice, and you can double click there. It should be empty when you start it. And then we're going to save this, even though we haven't done anything on it yet. So save. The location should say Fusion Practice automatically. If it doesn't, use this pull down to select that project and then click that arrow back up. I'm going to call this Constraints. Save. You see now it's in here. So I don't actually need this panel anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and close it. Okay. Now we are going to be playing with something called these things that are called constraints. I've already I shared a video, I believe, with you guys about some of the different constraint commands, but I'm going to go back and I'm going to actually do it again here. Or no, I'm just going to do what this assignment is, and I'll make sure to share that video with you as well. Okay. So remember, I always like to have this origin on because it makes it easier to see what's going on. So just click that little eyeball. Our document settings, we do need this one to be in millimeters. Right now, mine's in inches. You go here, you click that little change units, change it to millimeter, and okay. So now what you're going to do is you're going to create a sketch. And we're trying to make a shape. We're going to just use straight up lines. We're making a shape that looks kind of like this. I'm just literally clicking as I go making this thing. You notice I didn't put any measurements on, didn't do any of that stuff. So this is my main shape. We're going to end up with it looking like the one that's on the printout and the attachment. But this is the primary shape I'm looking for here. Now, if you notice these are constraints that were automatically put on. And if you look at your menu bar up here, they look the most like this one, perpendicular. These are already saying this is perpendicular to that line. So if I highlight over it, you'll see that these two darkened. So for some reason, it's deciding it's going to connect these two, but it works. So these two are perpendicular. Those two are perpendicular. These two are perpendicular. So it's already got that constraint in there. So one of the things we need to do with this, and if these are not showing, make sure on this little pop out here that this thing here that says show constraints, make sure that checkbox is checked. If it isn't, then check it. If you see anything other than this shape or this one, which is the vertical horizontal, click on them and delete them. So I'm actually going to do that here to show you what it looks like. So you just click it and you hit delete and it'll get rid of that constraint. I'm good with all of these. It doesn't actually tell me the coincident constraint unless I mouse over it. So if I mouse over it, you see that little symbol there? That means coincident. That's this one. Coincident means that these 2 points are in the same spot. And that just means the end point of this line is connected to the end point of this line. We want those. Those are fine. Okay. So we want this thing, and you could have also made this messy as heck. I'm going to go ahead and delete these perpendicular constraints just so I can show you how this could look if you'd not been very careful with it. Like, this will even work if you got something like this. Something ugly like this. So say this is how you did the sketch. You just got a very vague semblance of what that shape is going to be. That's fine. We're going to start from there. We're going to add constraints to this. Personally, one of my favorite ones to add first are the equal ones. So equal is this one. All the sides that are supposed to be equal, I'm going to click. So these two sides are supposed to be equal. Equal. Select. Make sure that's actually highlighted when it does it. And there's got the equal symbol on it. This side is supposed to be equal to that one. This side is supposed to be equal to that one. Okay, well, that's interesting. We also want this thing to be centered. So, and let's also worry about, and so I like to do equal, and I like to do your perpendicular, your vertical, horizontal, vertical, and your perpendiculars next. So horizontal, vertical. This one. This will automatically choose whether it needs to be vertical or horizontal based on how close it is to one or the other. If it's wrong, you have to delete that constraint and shift something before you can try it again. So I'm going to say that needs to be horizontal. Whoa, that one's special. That happens sometimes. That one needs to be horizontal. That one needs to be horizontal. That one needs to be horizontal. That one needs to be, yep. See, that one thought it was supposed to be horizontal and it wasn't. So I undo it. That one's already vertical. So I can drag things around to make these a bit more cooperative. Yeah, that one didn't want to cooperate. Sometimes that happens and you're just stuck with trying to change some things with it. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that bit there. I'm going to undo those. If it does something screwy like that where it pops all the way down, undo it and work it again later. So horizontal, vertical, that one was fine. I don't like that little curly bit there, so I'm going to undo that one. Horizontal. Okay. If your horizontal vertical didn't work, because it did something screwy, you can like lift things and move them to make it a little bit more cooperative. These are supposed to be vertical. The reason it was giving me an arrow is I had a single point selected when I chose that. This is supposed to be vertical. That one's supposed to be vertical. I'm going to cooperate now. Almost. So I'm going to cooperate now. Yeah. Sometimes just clicking them in a different order helps. Now this one, when I tried to, it's too far down, so I'm going to go ahead and use my perpendicular and go, okay, this is perpendicular to that. Okay, that's looking a bit better. It's still definitely not where I want it all to be, but it's there. Okay. Another thing we can do to put this in the center, because we want this to be in half. So I'm going to use, where is it? Midpoint. That's the triangle, midpoint. And I'm going to go, this point is on the midpoint of this line. So now it's shifted. So now this long line here's midpoint is right on the origin. Now we need the whole thing to be, so I'm going to actually go ahead and drag this, which we can do. Okay, so that's there. All of those things are good. Another thing we can do is we can be like, this thing's supposed to be symmetrical. There's the symmetry constraint. This one right here. And we can go, this is symmetrical to that. And there's my line of symmetry. This is symmetrical to that. There's my line of symmetry. And that's the order you have to do it in, is this, that, symmetry. This, that, symmetry. It's saying it's over constrained because it means that I've kind of already said that. Somewhere in here that ended up working out well. That's fine. Yeah, I can see where it is. This length is symmetrical. Yeah. Okay, so now this is starting to look more like the right shape. Once you've used your constraints to make it the right shape, then you use your dimensions. So we're actually good for this here. This is the right shape we're looking for. So now I'm going to dimension. Either click here or I hit D. This part should be 20. This part, 15. I tend to work from the smallest dimensions to the bigger dimensions because then they're more likely to not go funky on us. 15. Big one's 100. Okay, that one I did too early. That 100. That happens. You just hit undo. Go back to the next one. By the way, these dimensions are all coming from the printout. So 45. Okay. What's going on there? Okay, so you see how this keeps trying to bring things in here? That's because these haven't gotten an extra constraint on them. And actually, these two lines are actually perpendicular to each other. So I'm going to undo that dimension. I'm going to go ahead and do a perpendicular constraint and go this one and that one. So now, when I do my dimension, I should be able to go 100. There's the shape we want. So there's that shape we want. You know it's fully constrained if all of the lines are black. If all the lines are black, it's good, it's solid, it's happy. If any of your lines are blue, it's missing a constraint. If any of them are red, it's over constrained. Any of them are gray, it can also be over constrained. It'll give you a warning if any of that stuff happens. So this is where you need to get to with those constraints. I'm going to finish sketch. Oh, wait, that's right. Don't need to finish sketch. I need to go back into that sketch. So remember, if you exit out too early, you go down here, right click and edit. This thing also has a pair of circles on it that are 5 millimeters in diameter. So let's see. So I'm going to put a circle here somewhere. Okay. That dimension is 5 millimeters. And the instructions actually say that when you draw the circle, the center should meet the following constraints. On a vertical line through the intersections of lines 3 and 4. These are 3 and 4. So this needs to be vertical to that. Go back to our constraints, horizontal, vertical. This doesn't just work on lines. We can also do it with points. So I can say this point is vertical to this point. So now they're vertical with each other. And tangent to a horizontal line through the midpoint of line 2. Okay. So this is where we do something called a construction line. So here's a construction line. Construction line is a dotted line that isn't anything we can actually select later. So I'm going to draw my construction line. I just drew it whatever length. And I'm just going to, it needs to go through the midpoint of this line. So I'm just going to go, this line needs to be on the midpoint of that line. There, good. And tangent to is this command. Tangent means it only touches the circle at one spot. So I'm going to go tangent and say that circle needs to be tangent to that line. And now it's in the right position. Now here's the issue though. This is not done. I need another one. Now I could go and do this whole thing over again. Annoying. Or I can use this lovely command, mirror. So I'm going to use the mirror command and say, I want to mirror that object. And then I choose across that line. Hey, look at that. I got a fresh new circle. Look at all that. Isn't that pretty? And if you notice, this line doesn't do anything when we're not in the sketch. Okay. So I finished the sketch. Extrude. Let's see. How much does it say to extrude? Five millimeters. So 5. Okay. Now there's a couple of other questions that are going to come up and you're going to need to manipulate this. This is not your final part. I will repeat again. This is not the final part that you are turning in. You will need to do the manipulations that are described in steps 31 through 35, and that will be your final part. There'll be printouts of those as well as on the Google Classroom and in Teams. So when you do that, once you got it done, you save. I'm not gonna do it here for you. You'll save. You'll create a drawing from design. Keep letting it use its default. And just give me the front view of the part. You don't need the whole thing.